I was just thinking that we all need to agree to disagree on different values. We're actually teaching the next generation to have respect, and the way that we're going about doing it with politics and religion is not really working the same. Um, I think that we should at least acknowledge what everybody feels in a different way, rather than mixing religion and politics at the same time. It's confusing our generation, confusing them a lot.
Welcome to Third Side Convo with your host, Bob Phipps. Your panelists today are Ted Johnson, Don Thomas, Leo Robinson, and Michelle Walters. And now, your host, Bob Phipps.
Welcome, everyone, to the Third Side Convo, where we bring a fresh approach to tackling the issues that shape our world. Now, this isn't about politicians or party lines. It's about the issues themselves and how they affect real people like you. Now, this week, we are inspired by the National Prayer Service and its powerful reminder of both the hope for unity and the challenges of division. You know, moments like this highlight how our country is often torn between opposing perspectives, but also how we share common values at the core. We're going to try to find those. Here at the Third Side Convo, we embrace what we call the Uber discourse method. So we steer away from extremes, we avoid partisan sound bites, and we focus on the shared humanity that unites us. Tonight, we're going to dig into questions like, how do we move from disagreements to understanding? Can faith and moral leadership foster unity without deepening division? And most importantly, how can ordinary people like us take steps toward bridging the divides in our community? So the first thing I'd kind of like to want to talk about is, at a prayer service, okay, I'm going to want to ask our friends on the right, Leo, what did they say that got everybody so upset? It seems like this was just a prayer service. Why is this disunity happening?
In the name of our God, we don't know what God we're talking about first. And it's a cathedral to talk about spirituality, not politics. And she brought up the fears of the LGBTQ and the immigrants. So I feel like that we could have approached that a little different instead of putting President Trump on blast.
No politicians there, Leo. Exactly. So we're just talking about the issues as to why the conservatives had issues with it. Ted, I know you've got some thoughts. Why do you think they did?
Well, I mean, he even said that the bishop had such a nasty tone. Really? Yeah. You listen to the speech, there was no nasty tone. He can't take a little criticism or
the Republicans can't take it, because remember, exactly. All of the Republicans did this. Yeah.
What was the big deal? Is this such a thin-skinned blowhard? Anybody pushes back that he feels hurt? Wow, what a president.
There you go. Okay, Michelle, I know you were kind of torn on this one, but you also thought it wasn't. What were your thoughts?
Well, I mean, no, I just thought that she was really sitting there and overstepping her boundaries. And, you know what I mean? She was already noted back in 2020, though, on, saying disparaging remarks about, our incoming, our incoming administration, to where if you had, concern or pause, I'm not asking my ex-husband to sit there and say a speech at my birthday party. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's one of those where if you don't have a particular favor or preference for that individual, and if you don't think that you can personally hold your own personal comments out of it, then don't sign up for it. Don't do it. I mean, and go ahead and pass it on to somebody, because in the spirit of all of this, we missed the message.
Okay. Fair enough.
I was talking about this compared to what the original, purpose behind this is.
Okay, Don, what do you think of what Michelle said on that?
Well, I kind of disagree with the whole what she said a little bit. At a church, and that's her church in the church, she was just saying that there should be mercy set, because there is going to be a lot of stuff going on to this group of people who have been targeted by millions of people, and she was just saying that there should be mercy. Look to see to put mercy on these people, because these people are about to go under a whole bunch of crap for the next 4 years. And she was just making sure, as a humanity person, what she's supposed to do as a priest is supposed to, show mercy for the people who are being persecuted. and the people were being targeted, and that's all she was saying.
Well, I know, but you know what, though? Why don't you sit there and hold mercy to me? I mean, and when she's sitting there and taking up that, okay, we'll sit there and show compassion and mercy for the gay, the lesbians, and the transgender. I don't fall in any of those. So where's my mercy? You know what I mean?
Well, you're not under pressure right now.
Problems, concerns,
but Michelle, you're not under scrutiny.
Take care of, and you know what I mean? No, we need to go back and look at, the initial premise behind this prayer service. It's for God to overlook and to be with them.
But we're not being targeted right now. Certain people are not being targeted. People in Americans are not being targeted by a special group. These people are right now are in the crosshairs of a bunch of people that's happening right now. So she was just addressing that.
A bunch of crosshairs on a whole bunch of various different things. I mean, I'm a female, you know what I mean? We have, much more of a propensity to have violence, and rapes and things like that are going to be towards us compared to with my male counterparts. So again, so we can't sit there and talk about those or have mercy on me or, you know what I mean? Or the other victims on various other...
So Michelle, were you saying it was kind of targeted? Ted,
I felt like this whole thing was very
Ted,
targeted.
would you say, Ted, was it targeted? I mean, those remarks clearly were maybe pointed, thinly veiled. What would you call it?
She felt as a national faith leader, she felt there was no better time to stress the importance of thinking of those who are less fortunate and more needy than us, a very Christian thought, and that they may be under threat. And there's no better time to bring that out sitting 15 feet in front of the president and the whole staff. And there was nothing nasty about it. It's a very good thought. Go back to the 1960s. Daniel Berrigan was going up and down the country, all over the country, voraciously fighting the Vietnam War and the evils of the Vietnam War. This is a long history of faith leaders clashing with politics.
Okay, probably true. Leo. Well, no, let's hear from Leo, though. You've heard from everybody else, Leo. Why do you, give me your thoughts.
Faith leaders have a responsibility to hold political leaders accountable. If they don't hold them accountable, there's no way that they can actually express how others feel, because they have a responsibility to tell what the church is feeling in general. Now, note that she's dealing with the president at the particular time. She could have come in a different way or said in a different manner, but she's taking the fear from others that are not able to speak up about the subjects like the immigration and the LGBTQ having issues with President Trump and his rules.
Oops, stop using that, Leo. Bang him again.
Where's Tamara?
Yeah, I got you.
Yes.
It's just the whole thing, the whole process of, I was watching, this woman right now has been threatened, people threatening her lives and threatening her stuff going on because of what she said. There's a whole group of people, and this is like a norm. When somebody go against a certain group of people, they start getting threats. All these people that never had security before now got to get security because they're getting a whole bunch of threats because they said something against a certain group or a certain person. They get victimized by this group that whoever's threatening these people for no reason.
Got it. Ted, did you want to add something, or were you just stretching?
What is it about the MAGA crew that if someone speaks against them or criticizes Donald Trump, the president? Why does the MAGA crew threaten violence, target them, try to cancel them? Why do they can't just say, okay, that's a legitimate piece of criticism, let's move on? No, they threaten. They go to threat right away.
Hey, why? Again, the reason I wanted to do this topic, guys, was I heard the Episcopal the bishop the next day talk about that all she was trying to do was gather unity, develop unity. And I'm going, didn't quite work, okay? But,
overstepped her boundaries.
Did she accomplish it? Was it achieved? Was her goal? You know what I mean?
Well, my mother always said her favorite quote, generally when I was cursing, was she'd go, there's a better word to use for that. Is what she would say. So, okay, we're going to get to our break in a little bit, but what I'd like to do, is just recognize. I mean, listen, let me just ask a question. Leo, do you like to help people and believe that we should help everybody we can that's needy?
I feel like we should.
Okay, good answer. Michelle, what about you?
No, not at all. Forget them.
Exactly. What I'm saying is we have the same values. When it comes to helping people, we have the same values. Clearly, this was kind of said in a way that maybe somebody knew that it was going to happen like this, but I've been around you guys. You all guys have the same moral core. I don't worry about that from helping people, okay? Now, I do think that maybe a lot of people are being scared partly because of the discourse and because of the way that we talk about them. You know, the immigrant situation. You know, we've talked about that on many shows, and we mostly agree, don't we? When we talk about immigration, we want people that want to be here, don't we? So that's time for another subject. But what I'd like to do now is we're going to have to hear from our sponsors. And one of the things that we're going to do also is I want y'all to consider, going on Facebook. Please subscribe, like the shows, and what we will be back. Yes, subscribe, please, and all that good stuff, all that stuff I don't understand that Joe Boy does. And we'll be right back after a brief word from our sponsor.
Aw, Dad, my computer's slow again and I can't play my games.
Call Your Computer Solutions today, and we will scan for viruses and clean that computer up remotely and make it fast again. Our phone number is 407-826-0810.
Thanks, Dad. My computer's fast again. Now I can do my homework. Thanks for calling Your Computer Solutions at 407-826-0810. The Tri-Beer Show would like to thank Boggy Creek Airboat Adventures for being one of our sponsors. I got to go on an airboat and saw a real gator. I even got to go to the gem mine and mine for some gems. We ate a steak dinner at the restaurant and even got some gator bites. If you want to have a blast with the entire family, I suggest you go to www.bcairboats.com right now. Get your tickets today. The website again is bcairboats.com.
Welcome back. I'm tending to think that on a national level, this trying to get unity is really tough. I mean, here we had a bishop trying to get unity, and I don't think they really got this thing. What do y'all see as the best ways that we can develop unity in our country and get together on stuff? Don, let me hear from you. Well, how are we going to get together?
Well, I talked about this last night when we were at the place. I think we all in this country, we all need to do the 25% rule. Everybody put 25% in, as a person in the country, 25% from you, 25% for your city, 25% for your state, and 25% for your government. And to have a stakeholder in that, and that'll give us to start working together. Do something in your community, do something for your city, do something for your state, do something for your government. And that'll kind of like bring you a whole round that you can actually look at seeing. Then we can probably start coming together because you're doing other things than just doing stuff for yourself. And that's where we got to doing things for ourselves and getting greedy and getting all that stuff will kind of go away a little bit. So
yeah. Well, when we want to tear something down, you're right. It's easy to do in the realm of politics, isn't it? Leo, what do you? Okay, Michelle.
No, I have to admit, I think that's something that would be it's a great idea. I mean, we see the high school students and some of the middle school students, if they want to, apply for certain college applications or get, particular type of scholar, whatever the case might be, that they have to have X number of volunteer hours. It's probably something that, that should probably place a little bit more of an emphasis or, maybe a higher percentage on, a higher percentage of, acceptance or brownie points or whatever you want to call it, to where volunteering in areas to where you feel uncomfortable. I mean, certain areas that do need it, particular attention. Areas, we are talking about, migrants and workers and conditions and the various different immigrations, maybe it's in different areas where we can volunteer.
Yeah, Ted, what do you think? How do we do this on a local basis? Because nationally, it seems like they're screwing up.
Well, actually, it's a national issue for everyone. We're a country of tribes. We have our own tribes. I think the basic thing to do is have people learn how to go and get information, not based on for information, not affirmation. Find information that may even run contrary to your personal beliefs, and assess it for accuracy. And does it pertain to you in your personal case? Too often, we just run to where we want to believe. We get reinforced. And we don't shift our minds. We even get more rigid. We got to get rid of that affirmation versus information mindset.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, Leo, go.
was just thinking that we all need to agree to disagree on different values. We're actually teaching the next generation to have respect, and the way that we're going about doing it with politics and religion is not really working the same. I think that we should at least acknowledge what everybody feels in a different way, rather than mixing religion and politics at the same time. It's confusing our generation, confusing them a lot.
Very much.
They don't know whether or not to go to church to listen to the word or listen to politics, and that's not the way to go.
Well, and also I think one of the hard things is, I mean, when you look at the media, you know what I mean? The whole scare tactics, that sells papers. It sells, subscribers. It's, it's one of those where they need to blow it up and magnify it into, such a capacity to where it is creating fear. It is, and it's hard for the average person to be able to take a step back and decipher, what's really actually true and what is being, exaggerated to call me to action and maybe possibly a direction that I shouldn't be called in.
Don't have any empathy for the next person's feelings. They are more active on telling exactly what they feel and not thinking about who's listening. So that has to play a part in anything that we're doing. And in this climate right now with immigration and having differences on like the point that Bob made earlier to me when we were talking is that you can't judge a person based off what sex they are. You can judge a person based off of what character they have. If I met you in the streets, I look at you as who you are. I wouldn't look at you as what type of sex you are. And that's been an issue for a long time. And they're trying to bring light on that rather than talk about
or what color skin you have.
Okay, yeah. Well, I also what the people are saying, there was, I guess one of the orders came out about man and woman and like that. And I read something where the lady was adamant that, a man and a woman is in God's in man. God is man, the image of man, whatever. And I asked a question. I said, have you ever seen God? Because, we're taught God is everywhere. God could be a frog looking. We don't know, and for you to put that on people to make sure that's the image of God, that a man is the image of God. We don't know that for sure because no one ever seen God. And if God's everywhere, he can be a frog. He can be a goat.
You know that
we don't know that,
Made by dog.
Here's one for you as a group, all of us. Can anybody remember a major politician, a major business leader, some type of well-known person getting up in front of a big audience, not necessarily national, but a big audience, and saying, you know what, we screwed up.
Yeah.
And we have to explain the fact. What's the most recent example we could come to mind on that? Who admits that they're wrong? Did something happen? We went to this decision. Oh, it was the wrong way.
Has somebody actually ever done that?
That's my point.
Caught cheating, and they go, "Oh my gosh, I was wrong. I came out." Yeah,
well, that's right.
But that's more of a celebrity format.
No, I'm talking about some political move or some governmental project or CEOs. We could say the DEI stuff. You can say, okay, we whiffed. Well, let's see somebody say it. Has anybody said it that we know of?
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
You're going to sit there and you're going to lose your occupation. You're going to lose your job. Nobody wants to sit there and admit fault.
It's a sign of weakness. You were wrong, and you admit it. And I think that comes from somebody sitting in the Oval Office. That mentality, personally.
Most people are focused on the past and not the present. They're looking at what's going on in the past and saying, hey, this is what we're dealing with through the whole politics for the last 2-3 years. It's been, hey, we're going to support this group of people because they're going through this. We're going to support this group of people because their minds are focused on this. But we're not looking at the big point is that they're fighting for the past, not the future. And we need to come with common ground of the future. Focus on solutions and not the problems. And the solutions aren't calling out in the middle of a cathedral what your moral values are, whether your sex is male or female.
Well, it's just the whole picture of the whole world is, everything goes in progress. We went from dinosaurs and people, and we're going to progress to home. Everything's a progress. So everybody is included. All the stuff is included. The people, the things like that is progress of what's happening in the world. So if people are coming out, so everything's it's head that way. So all of it's part of the picture, the head picture, because we keep moving. We're talking about going on Mars, being on Mars and putting stuff out in the universe. We're seeing stuff out there. We got stuff out in space now that can look back or look ahead, billions of years from now. So everything's included.
They see life that happened 250 billion,
including people.
Years ago,
Right. We have
social media too. Crucified the lady bishop. There was in the Bible and Proverbs, there's not supposed to be a female running a church. So they, instead of listening to the values of what she was going through, they wanted to crucify the fact that she was leading a church at the present time, a cathedral, and saying that a woman shouldn't be the head of a church. And I don't know the values on that, but that's what they were saying.
Somebody made that up too.
Well,
so,
you can always do that. Okay, so here we go. You can always find fault in things. And I think one of the things about trying to get together here is we hang around long enough to listen to somebody else. I mean, I've told Ted before I was wrong on stuff. I know I'll say it again. And I tell him he's wrong on stuff. I'm still waiting for a thing, but he has gotten so much better, okay? That's what this, but that's the thing. You have to stay around long enough to get past the insults, okay? The perceived, veiled slamming of the other side. I'm sorry, but you just got to hang around long enough. And that's what we do. In fact, we had a gathering last night. Ted came to Florida. We had a great time. And exactly, it was so good. We're trying to convince him to stay here, but I'm not so sure that's going to happen.
You might miss his flight.
One way to do this is if you're talking with someone, even someone you don't maybe like or even agree with, ask the question, teach me something. Let me help you learn. Let me learn from you. That's a good way to start.
Yeah.
Right. Let me learn.
And it probably does work best under the Uber discourse method. I hate to toot our horn, but
Bob.
If you start, well, you could have been. Well, you maybe are a frog now. But the point is you can't bring the names into it. You bring the names into it, and everything falls apart.
First time
I
in
feel
years.
like faith leaders have a moral obligation, and that's what I think personally, that they really have to have an obligation to remain faith leaders and not get into politics.
Right.
It's going to confuse our generations to come. Agree to disagree is real, but there's a level of people that do believe in God or the God. We don't know what God she's talking about when she's dealing with sex, because if you know the Bible, say for instance, I'm a Bible believer.
Yeah, there's different ways.
Right, but the Bible's not the truth,
Well, I think also the Bible's written in so many books from so many different eras. I think you could find something in the Bible to justify anything from slavery to overall human murder. Slavery is mentioned 7 times in the Bible.
Boy, it's amazing when you get a bunch of intelligent people together how you can lose track of things. And I think we're going to have to get ready to take our next break. And so I think we're going to have to leave the Bible for its own show. Okay, we might have to do that sometime and get a couple of experts in. And no, listen, that's what's fun. We can talk about whatever the heck we want to talk about, because this show is all about just trying to come together. And we got 2 people on each ideological side, and son of a gun, they're hanging around to get through these issues. So please, again, subscribe on thirdsideconvo.com. Go to Facebook and subscribe there, and we'll be right back after our break from our sponsors.
Corona Cigar Company is your one-stop shop for all your cigar needs. Whether that's a brand new humidor, a box of those new cigars you've been waiting for, a top-of-the-line cutter or lighter, a place to enjoy the finest cigars and spirits with friends, or the only cigars grown right here in the Sunshine State, we've got you covered. Come visit one of our retail locations for the ultimate cigar experience. Visit us online at coronacigar.com.
Oak Ridge Gun Range is a family-oriented shooting range that has been in business for over 30 years. They specialize in basic firearm training and offer numerous services such as consignments, gun trades, gunsmithing, and concealed weapon classes. I even got my training for gun safety at Oak Ridge Gun Range. Great customer service, and firearm safety is what they do best. So find out more at oakridgegunrange.com.
Hello again. I would like to now to go around and see how we can find out. We've got to get this to younger people. We've got to figure out what's going on. What do you think the future of this is going to be as far as how do we get this dialogue where we want it? Ted, where do you see we go with this, and how do we get the younger generation to actually, because you agree talking politics is necessary in a civilized society, correct?
You have to discuss the issues, and what we have to do is stop when we disagree to discredit or defame the other person. They're just like us. They want the best for their family and want the best for their career, but they have differences. So the key is, and I think there's a lot of politicians do it in Congress at the legislative level. They said, okay, how can we come together on this and get something passed that helps society or helps the culture, helps the country? And not enough that is on the political activist side, or even on the society in general. If you disagree, you're a bum, or you're this, you're that, and the name calling comes out, and nothing gets learned. As I said earlier,
It's horrible. Michelle.
I think that, you know what I mean, the younger generation is starting to get much more versed into various different political issues. And I think that it's just a matter of progression. It's a matter of information. I mean, back in the day when I was younger, I mean, I never really actually watched the news, because one of those, like, I just kind of walked in and out, you know what I mean, if my parents were watching it, or if some particular program happened to be on, but it wasn't something that I personally was putting on. But now these days, I mean, you're scrolling through Facebook, Instagram, X, whatever the case might be, and it's right there in your face regardless. It doesn't make a difference if you're, you know what I mean, 2 or 200, it's right there. It's, you know what I mean, it's present, in your face. And it's just a matter of trying to decipher on whether you want to, you know what I mean, further explore that or not. But the nice thing is, the access is there. And I think that it is being placed much more in front of our younger people, and they are seeming to be a lot more involved, engaged. And we are seeing, you know what I mean, a lot more of the younger generation coming up and wanting to put just stake a little claim in this little piece of the pie.
Hey, Don, are they hearing the right stuff though, or are they hearing a lot of stuff?
Well, they're hearing a lot of stuff. They're hearing a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff we have to siphon out. This is the problem with the fact checking thing going away. But by doing comedy and being out there, I got young comics and I got people in the audience and young comics that are coming up. A lot of them are aware of stuff, but a lot of them are not aware of stuff because it's false information. And I feel it's an obligation for myself. I know something that's false to let them know and that it's false. And that's how we should do it individually, or we see something that's false, let somebody, hey, no, that's not true. Or like the California fires and stuff. I constantly got to battle people saying stuff that's not true. There's not one mayor in charge of the whole fires. There's all kind of mayors in all the cities, and the fires are burning all over. People think it's just one person that's in charge of the fires. That's the kind of stuff
Don. But of course, you've got to listen to more than one person, like you do, right? You listen to different news. Leo, you're around young people. Are they getting more active these days, or listening to more political stuff?
The leaders have a role to set in the tone. Like, most leaders don't really realize it, because I'm in the nonprofit business, and they look at us to set the tone on how things can go. We're teaching unity through education is really the main factor that works. If we could talk about these issues on a daily basis through education, then we can actually hear out the young people and find out what they think could be the change motive, and bring up subjects like on the Third Side Convo about what we're talking about, how they felt about it, and then bring it back up to the society to listen to the leaders, and the leaders set the tone for what's to come. So it's about listening to the youth and finding out what they would like to hear.
Yeah, listening is a hard thing to do, Ted. How do we get everybody to listen better?
Turn down the volume on internet, radio, TV, and do your own thinking. Do a lot of reading on good periodicals and books. Educate yourself. And again, it's easy to go find what you want to believe. Go find something new that makes you maybe grow or adapt or even change. Do that.
Well, there's some websites I sent you that you might actually learn something from. Who knows? Who knows? I love it.
I'd say one.
Well, no, Ted, aren't you assuming?
Last night.
Yeah.
What?
I was going to say, Ted, aren't you assuming that there's nothing of value on the other side, so you're closing your mind a little bit?
I've read a lot of it, and I feel like the people who are doing the thinking are little.
I know one thing. I know one thing more that we can get back to young people get back to is when young people get out of school, or you have 3 options, and you might need to get back to it. Either you go to school when you come out, either get a job, or you go to the military. One of those 3 things that you're doing to get us back on track. Because if they're working or doing something in our society, our society may be better if we get people back on track that way. That was talking about making America great again.
There's something to say in closing. One of the benefits of our current society is there's so much information available, and people can go learn whatever. And by and large, there will be a big enough block that will come to a collective agreement on things with certain parameters. But 60% of them will say, okay, this is the way we have to go. They'll have some differences, but they realize, okay, even though you're different than you and I agree on this, and we'll go from there. Just due to the fact that there is so much information, eventually some of it will be threaded through. It'll be finalized and blocked into about 60% of people who pay attention. and that'll be enough to.
Well, that was pretty quick. All right, you get all that. All right. Well, we're going to have to go and close this episode of the Third Side Convo. No. You know what it is? It's just a matter of getting together and talking, and we're going to get together and talk again, and we're going to come up with a topic, and we're all going to learn something. Michelle, we always give her credit for learning the most because she reads diligently. Ted always reads. And, of course, we had Leo and we had Don, and so we've got a great group, and that's what we do here at Third Side Convo. Real people, real talk. Take care, and we will see you next week at Third Side Convo. Thank you.